Hello, welcome back to the channel, and this mischievous MGB, I think I'm going to call it. I've fallen out with it, I've fallen in love with it, I've fallen out with it. Do you ever have a petulant child in your house that just doesn't do what he or she's meant? It's one of these. It will not start. You remember where we left off last time, I hope. And by the way, thank you for all the new subscribers and also the ones that have sent me messages saying it's good to see you back. It's lovely. I read the messages and it's wonderful to hear from you. So thank you for that. But you remember at the end of the last video, we couldn't get the fuel pump to work. The pump just wasn't kicking in. That turned out to be a problem with the wiring loom, a new wiring loom, but we got an auto electrician in and he sorted it in half a day, and that was great. So we now have fuel coming to the engine. We have spark. You'll know because we tested the compression, there's good compression, but it's not even trying to go. There's also a leak from the from the oil cooler down at the front. So if you notice that, it's all right. I've got it, and I've got a new oil cooler for that anyway. I've put the old carburetors back on, with the thought that maybe there was a fault with the other carburetors from the donor car caused by the accident. I don't know, but it hasn't changed anything. We've changed a couple of spark plugs. The spark is still really healthy. So we have fuel, we have spark, we have air. It's got to be the ignition. And this is kind of it now for this car, which, by the way, since you last saw it as well, has been repainted again. And this time looks great, but I'm not going to do that this video. I'll show you around it next time when the bonnet's on and everything's done. This is kind of last chance saloon for this engine. The only thing that I can think of is, by the way, when you set up the timing lines, the timing marks on it, the rotor arm is pointing to cylinder number 1. So you would have thought it's timed, unless it's 180 degrees out. Now, bearing in mind, we've not been inside this engine at all. The distributor's been out, but it can only go back in one way. If you know that the end of it is not even, it can only slot into the drive unit in one position, which it has done. But if that drive unit is 180 degrees out, then everything is arse about face. So what I want to do now is see if we can solve that problem. If it doesn't start after that, I'm not entirely certain what we do. I think we'll probably pull the engine out of the donor car and see what happens to that. But let's not give in. I don't see why this engine should not run. So my thought was, right, get the distributor out, take the drive out, swap it around, put it back in. That's, of course, what we need to do eventually. But then someone said to me, actually, yesterday, surely if you just swap the leads round as a temporary measure, if it starts, then that's it. Because it's, in effect, you're just reversing the timing again. So you're putting it back to where it should be. So I think that's where we're going to start. So I think the easiest way to do this, take the distributor cap off. Let's take the king lead off for ease now. The firing order is 1, 3, 4, 2. So what we need to do is just change the order. So if we take 4 off, which is all wrapped up around there, put that back on. So if we take cylinder number 4, swap it with cylinder number 1. Put that back in. Now, I stress this is only a temporary thing. This is just to see if we reverse these, whether it will start. And then swap 2 and 3 like that. Now, if we put make sure we put the distributor cap back on the same way. So, in other words, cylinder number 4 is going, spark plug number 4 is going to cylinder number 1. You know what I mean, don't you? The spark plug lead. There we are. So what I've done now is reversed the timing order of the car from what it was. Now I think I'm going to need to advance it. I want to get rid of that. Oil's still looking good, by the way. So that's handy. Let me just... Okay, that's all on securely. Just going to open the door just in case. I mean, you live in hope, don't you? And I have got fire extinguishers nearby. Assuming it does. Let's have a go. It coughed. That's the first time it's done that. Let's try again. Oh, we're close. Oh, we're close. Let's try a bit more. Come on. Show us you can live. She wants to go. All right, let's start it again. Let's have a go again. Let's see. It's all about timing. It's all about timing. And she's idling as well. How long for, I don't know. Come on. Now I did connect up the oil gauge, and what do we got? We've got good oil pressure. Look at that, I can't quite see it. It must be about 60, is that 60 PSI? We have good oil pressure. First time she's run, and she's not sounding too badly. Now, this of course is temporary. We've got to switch everything off, take the distributor out, turn the drive around, but she runs. She runs! Listen to this! She's tappety, rattly, we can adjust the tappets. And she's running roughly because the timing isn't as it should be. It's massively advanced to try and get it all sorted. But it's actually awake. She is actually... I've just fallen in love with her all over again. I think to give us more to work from, let's get rid of these and get the distributor cap right out of the way. Right, it's out of the way now. Undo the coil from there. Now I have already loosened the distributor, so no, it doesn't need any more. There we are. There's the distributor out, and you can see if you look at that, this is what goes into the drive, the distributor drive. But you'll see it's not exactly halfway across, so it can only go in one way. Does that make sense? I hope it does. so it can only fit in the drive one way round. If that distributor drive is 180 degrees out, puts it the wrong way in, which is, I'm sure, well, it is what's happened here. So we can set that down very carefully. Now we need to take this frame off, which I think is going to be a half. Pretty certain it's going to be a half. But it isn't, it's going to be a 7/16. You knew that already, didn't you? You were shouting at the television saying, it's going to be 7/16. So there's the catch off, the grip off for the distributor. Now if you look down here, you'll see that that looks just like, you know, part of the engine, but there is actually a housing that needs to come off here as well. But before we do that, the idea is to put a 5/16 UNF bolt into the drive itself, which you can feel your way in, and it just screws in. It should just screw in. There we are. Just screws in, finger tight. And actually, if you've got the standard air cleaner, if you've got standard air cleaners on your car, and you need to do this job, the bolts that go through your air cleaners, perfect for this. So that's now screwed. It's not tight, it's just finger tight. It's just into the drive itself. And I now need to try and undo this screw to take the housing off. Now, I've not had a go at this, so it may not want to undo. It may need a bit of work. Oh, no, it's done it. It's done it. Look at that. This will release the housing so that we can pull the drive out, literally turn it round and put it back in. But that's going to need some persuasion. Let me get a persuader. Let's just give this a tap and hope that frees it off. It's difficult to get to, unfortunately. There we go, that's starting to move. See that moving now? Let's just try and wiggle it the other way now. That's it. Hoping that might come out of my hand. There we are, there's the housing. Sorry, yes, that's the... So there we are, that's the... That just makes sure the housing doesn't go anywhere. I think I might give that a bit of a clean before I put it back in, but let's put it on for now. And then the drive, I should have put gloves on the drive. This should now pull out, and it will turn very slightly as I pull it out because it's coming out of the splines. There we are, it's turning very slightly clockwise. And there it is. There's the drive. So if we turn that back round, came out like that, turn it like that, and put it back in, and that's in. And that's seated in there properly. Can undo that now, but I'm going to leave that in for the second. Okay, cap on. So let's do the leads. Lead number 1. So 1, 3, 4. I will be buying new leads anyway. 4, and then finally 2, which I know is red, but we were trying everything beforehand. It's a different one, it's out of the donor car. But it ran with it a moment ago, so fingers crossed. Okay, so now we just need the king lead from the coil. And that's in. Okay, now that's nice and loose, so I can adjust the timing very roughly to try and get it going. And it's time for startup number 2. And immediately it's running better than it did when we did it temporarily. Listen to that. We'll do the timing properly in due course. But she sounds good. A bit rattly, as I say. But we can get that sorted. That's the tappets. We can get that done. First time this engine has run properly, I think in about 6 or 7 years. She's going to be back on the road. Do you know, I think we'll leave it there. Leave it on a high. She runs. Yes, it needs tuning and timing and an oil cooler replacing, which I'll do before we next meet again. And there's a bit of extra fuel pipe. I need to buy a longer piece of fuel pipe for it as well, just to make sure it's all finished off. But she's awake. She works. And now we get the really fun bit of doing up the inside. Windscreen, dashboard, center console, carpet, seats, door panels, the whole lot, which we'll try and get done over the next couple of episodes, because otherwise it's just going to drag on such a long time. Thanks ever so much for watching. Thank you if you've only recently subscribed. If you haven't, please do subscribe, like the channel as well, and click the bell for notifications. We've got another project on at the moment as well, a 1983 Mazda RX-7, which is, yeah, it's a little crusty around the outsides, but it's doing well, so you can catch up with that as well very soon. Until next time, cheerio.